Support for Rouge Radio is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0, and I'm blown away by the performance. The craftsmanship and details on the 4.0 are next level. I gotta tell you, we've all been there. The fact we use generic blades down there, and you don't really want to go too further because you're just not completely confident. With the 4.0, confidence is not even an issue. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through an additional guard lengths with sizes 1 to 4. It's time to get your own ball hair and body trimmer with Manscaped to make me time the best time and enhance your confidence with some nice smooth boys. Get 20% off free shipping with the code ROUGE at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argos are dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Doug Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony Allen.
From a 29-year drought to back-to-back championships, welcome to the life of a Winnipeg Blue Bombers fan. It's Tony Allen kicking off this edition of Rouge Radio. I don't keep track of what episode we are on, but I'm here because Dalts is probably dead from alcohol poisoning as he celebrates another Grey Cup championship, and not just another, but back-to-back championships. Dalts, are you with us right now?
I'm about as conscious as I'm ever going to be on a Sunday night.
There you go.
It's an amazing feeling, and not to take anything away from the game itself, and to pour salt in the wound, kind of. But I had all but conceded a loss to Hamilton at halftime, and it was just it's an unbelievable feeling. First off, kudos to the city of Hamilton, who by all intents and purposes appear to have put up a heck of a Grey Cup week, as much as they could in a COVID-19 pandemic. But it looked like the fans were having a blast, and they were involved in probably one of the best finishes in Grey Cup history. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's going to be some Tiger Cat fans that would agree to disagree on that one. But man, I'm just excited, and I've as soon as the game ended, I decided to go back to something that you said on last week's show, that in 2 seasons, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have already won half the amount of Grey Cups that the Saskatchewan Roughriders have won in their entire franchise history. So I got to use that line on Twitter, but thank you.
Oh, there's so many angles you can take from that. The angle that, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers didn't win a Grey Cup for 29 years and have still won as many Grey Cups in that time span as the Riders. In 29 years, the Bombers were able to win as many Grey Cups as the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Like, there's so many angles you can take to just to grind it into Riders fans if you wanted to do that as a Bombers fan. But and it shouldn't be about hacking on. I'll leave that mostly to your celebration. But I mean, those jokes just almost write themselves.
I'm going to leave professional Dalts to this podcast. Insufferable Dalts will be through social media, and I'm not done yet. So first off, we almost didn't record tonight because you were in a jam tonight, but you managed to watch. First off, your thoughts upon the game, because I know the topic du jour is going to be that single that that we're. But overall, your thoughts on the game as a third-party fan, as someone who didn't have a dog in the fight.
And I was only able to tune in about near the end of the first quarter. I'm working nonstop right now leading into the Christmas break, and I listened to the end of the first quarter, the second quarter on the radio, and I didn't get to see the dominance that apparently the Tiger Cats had over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You could tell the Tiger Cats had figured them out. You could tell that the Tiger Cats had a game plan. And then the first thing I thought of was, this is what I was talking about last week about the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Anything that was going wrong with the Bombers last week in the West Finals was not because the Roughriders were making life difficult on the Bombers. It was the Bombers making life difficult on themselves. This week, it was definitely the Tiger Cats who had figured out a system for beating the Bombers. From what I heard on the radio, again, you probably saw, and a lot of fans probably saw, but you could tell that the Tiger Cats had the upper hand simply by listening to what Dustin Nielsen, I was listening to the TSN feed on the radio through my Sirius satellite app, and you could tell that they were talking about how it looked like the Tiger Cats had discovered how to stay ahead, and the big thing was shutting down Winnipeg's run game, one of them for sure. When I finally got to start watching in the second half, I came into my hotel room, just as the Arkells were hitting the stage, and I could see right away, just as soon as the third quarter started, I could see right away with my own eyes how they were stymieing Zach Collaros, that offense, and forcing their will on the Bombers. And even when the Bombers defense wanted to come out, get the ball right back to them, unlike last week where Winnipeg could just do whatever they wanted to, this week the Tiger Cats were giving them that same stymie defense back. So you could see how they had them contained for the most part. But like you said, this Grey Cup to me comes down to the kickoff. And again, I didn't change the tweet or delete it, but I said it was a punt. It was a kickoff. And I was actually FaceTiming with my kids at the time. I didn't have the volume off, so I don't hear what the announcers said. You could see it in the fans' eyes, but when they kicked off and he took that knee just inside the goal line, like this wasn't deep in the end zone, when he was just inside the goal line and took that knee, I just froze. Oh my God, it was only 2 points. A field goal wins it. And my kids didn't know really what I was talking about because they don't follow it that way. I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. Like, you need a touchdown now if you want to win this. And they were so close to that touchdown. But marching down the field, as soon as he kicked that field goal, the first thing that went in my mind was the Tiger Cats should have just won the Grey Cup. We should be watching the Tiger Cats jumping on the field. And as exciting as that game was, it all comes down to that taking a knee. I don't know if that was just instinct. I can't for a second believe the coaches sent that call in. It's way too late in the season to blame it on an American not knowing the rules of the Canadian Football League. But boy, that was, and even the people that are going to want to say this is why you need to take the Rouge out of the CFL. Even Matt Nichols had a tweet that said taking a knee in an end zone shouldn't cost you a championship. It's like, yeah, but there was no reason to take that knee, Matt. Like, I didn't want to get into an argument with Matt Nichols on Twitter, but it's like, come on, Matt. Like, there was no reason to take the knee. That's the problem with what happened. But, I mean, that is definitely going to be if I'm a Tiger Cats fan, I'm going to see that guy taking the knee in my nightmares for the next 7 months.
Oh, definitely. And, we could argue that, first off, I don't think Pop White was the the original kick returner guy. I think there were some injuries, and credit to the Tiger Cats because they had some ratio maneuvers on their depth charts that they had to go through. First off, Ted Laurent had an emergency epidectomy on Friday, and I can't believe that they were even talking about this guy playing. Like, I don't know the severity of an having an appendix burst or what have you, but I'm guaranteeing that there's no way that that he would have. I mean, there's mind games, and then there's mind games of playing with that. Like, so first off, you have that. So you have Tunde Adeleke, who's probably one of the best safeties, now playing halfback, and he got exploited somewhat throughout the game. Then you have Casatonis, who was okay, wasn't overly noticeable. But then you started getting all these other injuries on the Tiger Cats, and it's just kind of like, wow, they were doing everything they could to flip the script from 2019, and then that happened. So, I mean, it's really tough to say that, you'd hate to say that this game came down to that one single, but I mean, it's really hard to argue against it. I mean, it wasn't, they had their chances, and I want to talk about this here for a second, because I know we talked about this briefly last week. Let's say Jeremiah Mazzoli doesn't throw that interception, and he goes a touchdown, and Hamilton does win. Do we now have the conversation of Jeremiah Mazzoli? Now, this is allegedly, this is not, this is pure speculation, but this is based on a report that he was unvaccinated. Knowing, because we talked about this last week, and you said, well, it shouldn't matter because it's Jeremiah Mazzoli. He almost came back and won this thing for them. I mean, that like credit where credit is due. That Jeremiah Mazzoli came in ice cold. I mean, granted, it was in the first half, but he generated a lot of offense that Dane Evans wasn't able to prior to injury. But we almost had to have this conversation of how much of an advantage it was to the Eastern team because of the protocols for the unvaxxed. Do we not? I mean, I hate to bring this up because it's kind of like it's a non-topic right now because of how it ended. But I mean, we almost avoided controversy. I mean, I know that you don't want to talk too much about it, but I mean, it is what it is. It's not.
I agree that it would have been. Yeah, I suppose it would have been a potential controversy. Yep. Again, I don't personally. I mean, anyone's going to make it. COVID is such a nuclear topic that people will find a reason to make it an issue, and that's why I'm not too eager to run in and talk about it. But again, at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. Someone will make an issue of it, and I mean, I guess look at us. We're finding a reason to talk about it right now. So,
and on that note, the Grey Cup MVP was Zach Collaros, who was awarded the most outstanding player of the entire 2021 season on Friday night. The most outstanding Canadian, Nick Dembski, and I want to throw this back to you because you were on the Nick Dembski to be most outstanding Canadian in 2019, so it's almost like he was vindicated this year. But yeah, I want to talk about.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm glad you brought that up. For one, I'm glad you actually remembered, because as soon as it was announced, that's the first thing that went through my head. It was almost like, wow, like not a weight off of my shoulders. That's a little over the top and dramatic, but it was kind of like, oh, that was so nice to see, because I mean, honestly, as good as Andrew Harris was in last year's Grey Cup, I thought a lot of the major plays came down to Nick Dembski. So to see him get it this year was just, it was so nice that he got the recognition that I thought maybe he deserved in the 2019 Grey Cup, but he got it in the 2021 Grey Cup. And I think that is definitely going to be one of the highlights, is to see that being under the shadow of someone like Andrew Harris and being awarded most outstanding Canadian, it's just the icing on the cake for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
So I mentioned most valuable player, Zach Collaros, but there's almost some controversy indicating that maybe perhaps it should have been Sergio Castillo, the field goal kicker, going. I can't remember how many field goals he had, but Zach Collaros I mean, first off, he didn't have the best game, but he had a fantastic fourth quarter, just like he's had every other game this year. I mean, is it just like it's just because everything was too close, so they had to give it to a quarterback?
Well, I think it was probably the way he rebounded too. Like, he had a rough first half. There was the back-to-back interceptions, and then when they needed them the most, he orchestrated a touchdown drive, and then in the overtime gets the touchdown, gets the 2-point conversion. And even when Collaros hit the touchdown in overtime, I wasn't 100% confident in saying, you know what, I think the Blue Bombers won the Grey Cup there. It wasn't, but when he hit the 2-point conversion, it was like, wow, touchdown and the 2 points, like, that is locked in. That's when I think I'm like, I just don't think the Tiger Cats are going to be able to match that. I wasn't foreseeing how they would fail to do that, but when he got the 2-point conversion, I think that's almost when I thought, you know what, the Tiger Cats and this defense, they're just not going to do it.
Yeah, and once again, very limited points in the fourth quarter by this Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. So you just kind of knew that they were going to extra step up in overtime. So any final thoughts before we go on? Because there's just I mean, I'd hate to go on. Actually, do you mind if I go on a little soapbox here, Tony?
You go right ahead.
This has nothing to do with the game itself. I want to talk about some certain fans that were on Twitter. This was before the game, and I'm not going to say that they are all Rider fans. I'm not going to paint them with a wide brush here, but there were some vocal, and that's usually what happens. Is that the small minority are usually the most loudest, and that's unfortunate. But there were some Rider fans that took to Twitter, and I don't care who you cheer for. I think it's common knowledge that, you know, if you don't cheer for the team that beats you and advances in the playoffs, and B, you don't cheer for your rival. That's par for the course. I understand that. But there was a couple of Rider fans out there that were posting pictures saying "Go Ticats," which is fine, and then one of them actually posted a picture of Zach Collaros getting injured. That one injury by Simone Lawrence saying "Go Ticats." And then there was a couple of people saying, I hope he does it again. Listen, I sent this tweet a couple days ago. You hand in your fan card right now. Hand in your fan card. Because the moment you start cheering for injuries, for a player, or even celebrating injuries, like I said on Twitter, that doesn't make you a fan. That makes you a shitty human being. You got to stop. That's a full stop on that right now. And people are saying, well, you know, you would definitely see Bomber fans doing that. Yeah, but I guarantee that there would probably be some immature Bomber fans had there been roles reversed. Unfortunately for you, we're not in a situation where we actually got to witness that, right? So I'm talking about this right now. It has nothing to do with who you are. It's I've seen too many of it where all of a sudden now that we're starting cheering because that's what is it? That's the society that we live in now, that we have to cheer on and we have to celebrate, we have to hope for it. What are we, toddlers, kids, or what have you? Just grow up. That's all I have to say. And I appreciate you for I'm going to get off my little pedestal here right now to guys stop. I just had to get that off my chest. Any final thoughts on Grey Cup 108?
Oh, you know what? And there's several. Like I felt so good for Winnipeg. Like, in the last 5 minutes of that football game, you could just talk about the back and forth there. Like, the lead that Hamilton had and how well they were playing the Bombers had me thinking, man, Tiger Cats are going to win the Grey Cup. But then the Bombers come back and orchestrate a drive just like the Bombers do. Here's another week where you haven't gotten the best out of Collaros, you haven't got the best out of your team, and they still find a way. It's like, wow, the Bombers are going to win the Grey Cup. And then Hamilton starts marching the ball down the field, and they get first and goal. And it's like, wow, the Tiger Cats are going to win the Grey Cup. And you were thinking, that was stupid to take the knee, but there's Hamilton right down there first and goal, and you're thinking, wow, Tiger Cats are going to win the Grey Cup. But then they have to kick the field goal for the tie. It's like, oh, it's going into that and then going into the overtime, it was all bets off. I had no idea what I was about to watch. I'd have no idea what the score was. I had no clear favorite that I thought was going to win that Grey Cup. And then the Bombers just hit the end zone. Oh, because even the Tiger Cats converting on that third down was like, damn, it's in the cards. The drought's over. It's in the cards. If you can convert under pressure like that on third down in a Grey Cup with the game on the line, and then when they got down, like, it's over. The Tiger Cats are going to win and then we go to overtime. And then not only is Zach Collaros just textbook, the ground game is textbook, and they hit the end zone, 2-point conversion, and then to go in there, and it was almost, that was the only way the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were going to end their 2021 season, was with the defense just crushing the Tiger Cats' hope. And the turnover was just, who does that work for? A tip turnover going down, the Bomber player going down flips it up to another third Bomber player who completes the interception. A tic-tac-toe interception. Only the Bombers defense can pull off a tic-tac-toe interception. I think that was just that interception in overtime to end it. To me, that is about a real life metaphor on how the Bombers ran the table from beginning to end. From post to post, they ran the 2021 season, and although it looked like it might not happen in the West Final and in the Grey Cup, it just shows you that this is how good the Bombers could be, that even when you're playing great and the Bombers take a step back, the Bombers still know how to win football games. So that alone is a topic. And I mean, another topic, if you want to go to, was Zach Evans really playing that poorly? Like, is there any indication, like, the Tiger Cats were still controlling the play in the first half. Can you, like, is there a little bit, just to play devil's advocate here, Dalts, and you can answer this, is there almost like, do you think the Tiger Cats could have had a better chance winning with Dane Evans? Because they had Winnipeg under wraps for the most part in that first half. So it's like, you can't say the Tiger Cats were in trouble and Mazzoli brought them back, because for all intents and purposes, Dane Evans was doing the job too.
Well, he wasn't doing the job. It was more, it was really the Hamilton defense that really kept the Winnipeg offense in check. There were a lot of screen passes, hitch passes. I think Don Jackson had a little bit of an effect on that game. So I have to go back into into the box score to see like when Dane Evans went out, because I can't remember where it was. But if I ever go into and I'll do a quickly look at the stats: 4 for 9 for 24 yards and 1 interception. So Dane Evans wasn't an issue at all. Jeremiah Mazzoli, 20 of 25 for 80% and 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and of course that 1 interception. So, I mean, I know I get what you're saying, that, because it's not like Dane Evans was playing bad. It's just that I don't think he, like, there was nothing telling me that Dane Evans was going to become an issue at that point. I feel bad for the kid because there was a roughing the passer penalty. And then I don't know what happened. It was like almost like the Steve Moore thing with Todd Bertuzzi, right? It wasn't the hit itself. It was like everybody bouncing on his neck that caused the injury. But for Dane Evans, this has got to burn for another year, right? I can't remember who was interviewing with. He said, like, I can't believe, like, because of the off season and because of the game that he had to watch that TSN Grey Cup replay for, like, God knows how many times they put it on, and he had to watch his performance countless times, and this was his opportunity, and he didn't have a chance. It was like a quarter and a bit, and then Dane Evans got injured. So I don't know. Hindsight's 2020. Would the Tiger Cats have ended this drought if Dane Evans still remained in the game? Going 4 for 9, there really wasn't anything present there to saying that Dane Evans was going to light it up or at least progress after that point. The moment Jeremiah Masoli, it just became an extra running weapon, plus with a guy with an adequate arm, and he proved it. He just wasn't good enough on this night. But overall, kudos to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They put on that city of Hamilton put on a tremendous show, tremendous week. It just didn't turn out to their favor. Speaking of Hamilton, I know this is going to change topics here. The Hamilton Tiger Cats now one of 3 teams that kept the majority of their team together since 2019, Winnipeg and Saskatchewan being the other 2 teams. Where do you do if you're Hamilton? Because you obviously don't blow everything up right now, and there's rumors of head coach Orlando Steinhauer going down south to college football in Washington State, where he's from. But looking at their roster, there's a couple of guys that are probably long in the tooth. They're getting up there in age. Simone Lawrence, Brandon Banks, and Chris Van Zyl. You'd have to think that maybe you don't blow it up, but you probably are going to have to say goodbye to maybe 2, if not all 3 of these guys, don't you think?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because I don't know if those guys want to continue to try and win a Grey Cup with a team that seems to have trouble getting over that hump the way the Tiger Cats have. And not only that they can't get over the hump, they can't get over with such a good football club. And again, if you lose Orlando Steinhauer, that's going to be a major hit to find a head coach who can slide in and handle that. Maybe even Chris Jones gets bumped up to the head coach, maybe they go after Chris Jones because who knows if he jumps ship in Toronto, or there was a lot of chatter on him this week. But I don't know. If it's Hamilton Tiger Cats, it's at some point you got to realize it's not working. No matter how good you are, there's only so many times you can go after it with that group you have before you have to realize something in the core has got to change. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of vision Bob Young, or the caretaker as they call him, decides to take this franchise moving forward. I mean, because this is a man that loves that organization, and he deserves a Grey Cup just as much as any fan does. So I don't know. The Tiger Cats have some decisions to make if they think they can just keep filling holes, if they can solve it in free agency and just tweak it, if they need to kind of rethink where they're going and make a decision on whether or not they're just going to carry Masoli or Zach Evans and send someone out via trade. The Tiger Cats have decisions to make. I'm not sure which way they want to go.
And you mentioned Chris Jones, which will end on 2 big news items that happened that obviously involves the Edmonton Elks. Obviously, everybody knows that they cleaned house, as we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. They reached out, at least sent some feelers to a couple of individuals, one of them being Chris Jones, and I made the joke saying that Chris Jones has already left the Edmonton Elks in favor of the new Maritimes franchise that will come up in a couple of years, if that actually comes to fruition. First off, Chris Jones going back to Edmonton, is that a good thing for Edmonton to do? Because knowing full well that there's bad and then there's bad, and right now Edmonton is bad, and it's going to take a couple of years before that culture turns around. And I don't know if Chris Jones is actually going to be staying there for that long. I mean, that's got to be one of the main reasons why you probably say no to Chris Jones, is it not?
Well, he's high risk, high reward, and to be honest, I don't like Chris Jones's personality, but you can't argue the fact that he wins. He understands defense. He puts great defenses together, and he wins. That's why he moves around so much. That's why teams are willing to bring him in, because if you need a win, bring in Chris Jones, and you know what? It's probably coming, and it's coming fast. You're not going to sit around and wait for a Grey Cup when Chris Jones is involved in your football club. And again, I just think for personality wise, he just annoys the piss out of me. But I mean, his resume speaks for itself. You've got to respect that this guy, he wins. So if you're the Elks, I guess maybe you say, listen, you know what? You bailed on us last time, but you brought us a Grey Cup. And, after the year we had, if you stick around for 3 years and in year 3 we get that Grey Cup again, why not take a flyer on it and worry what happens 3 years down the road?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. High risk, high reward. The second name that came up and this came out of nowhere because of the positions that they're being offered, but the Edmonton Elks, according to our favorite reporter Arash Madani, have reached out to now 2-time Grey Cup head coach Mike O'Shea for the position of head coach and general manager. Given what Winnipeg has done after their 29 years of sucking, that would be a pretty big get for them. My question would be right now is if this is something that Winnipeg would need to match, or B, would this be something that Mike O'Shea would actually go? He's an Eastern kid. I shouldn't call him a kid. He's an Eastern guy. Going west just doesn't seem like that something that just kind of screams that he would want to do. And he seems to be a hands-on coach more so, which really says maybe he wouldn't be interested as GM unless he somehow decides to grab someone from the Winnipeg organization to handle the day-to-day duties but without the actual title. So your thoughts on Mike O'Shea possibly leaving Winnipeg to Edmonton?
Well, I don't think he leaves Winnipeg. I don't think Mike O'Shea has built what he's built in Winnipeg to now turn around and leave. I fully believe that Edmonton reached out to him. I mean, you have to. I mean, why not? He's a now 2-time Grey Cup champion in Winnipeg, but I mean, he sure the hell didn't do that overnight. So he's not going to cure your problems maybe as fast as a Chris Jones will or could, but at the end of the day, I imagine he's just too ingrained into that community. Like, the Canadian Football League is a different league when it comes to loyalties, and a lot of guys, maybe even more so the Canadian guys as well. You make your roots and you stay where you are. Wally Buono stayed in Calgary for a long time, and that is a coach that did build something great there. And I mean, that was more of a ownership Wally Buono problem than it was with Wally Buono saying, yeah, I'm sick of constantly winning with the Stampeders. Now I'm going to go take a team that doesn't win and see if I can go through the frustration of doing it again. Like, Buono leaving Calgary was a little different. I mean, there's no animosity I'm aware of between or anything between O'Shea and Winnipeg management and ownership. So to me for him, it makes absolutely no sense when you've done so much there, you've put in all the work, and I mean, you have a chance to three-peat. Why would you walk away from a three-peat?
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time that was a thing.
Yeah. You probably have to go back to the 80s Edmonton teams that won 5 in a row.
Yeah, that would have been the
Warren Moon era Edmonton football team, because I think after they won their, was it 5 in a row? There was never a three-peat after that, I don't believe.
Yeah, we've had a couple of back-to-backs. There was the
Toronto did it in
96-97. Montreal did it in 09 and 2010. By the way, is that single point, and I know we're backtracking to this, is the single point the new 13th man?
No, I see where you're going with that, but that one that play didn't lead directly to the loss, because at the end of the day, as bad as it was, it still kept the Tiger Cats alive and got them to overtime, and then it's a clean slate in overtime. So from that regards, I don't think it's the same as the 13th man, where you wiped a win off the board and then lost because they could have potentially won, but the field still got you to overtime. And once you got to overtime, it's a brand new football game again. Zeros on the board, essentially, and get points.
One of the things we were talking about in the preseason, I shouldn't say preseason, but this was back in March or April, whenever we were doing a show, and we kind of chimed in talking about what teams would look like going into the season, and you mentioned Winnipeg looks top notch. I'm just not prepared to call them a winner, because they have nothing behind Zach Claros. And hindsight's 2020. You would be correct with that statement alone. But lo and behold, and I tweeted this out earlier, I don't think it's something that a lot of people talk about rarely enough, but Zach Claros, through all the games that he started, he finished all of them. He started all meaningful games for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I think that in itself needs to be talked about. And of course, I know Doug Brown kind of had it. I don't know if it was a tongue-in-cheek comment. He sent a couple of tweets the other day saying maybe the management in Saskatchewan might need to be reassessed, because now they've got a guy in Cody Fajardo who is 1-2 in the playoffs, and they gave away two-time Grey Cup winner Zach Claros. I know hindsight's 2020. I've said that a lot on this show. At the time, I don't think it could be argued that Cody would have been the better route. He was playing better. You had a guy who was injured, probably shouldn't have been playing at that time, and then gets traded to Toronto, who then gets traded to Winnipeg, and his career gets rejuvenated. So I don't think a lot of people talk about the fact that Zach Claros, who was pretty much thrown away twice, is not only playing I wouldn't say his best football, but reasonably well enough to earn MOP and back-to-back Grey Cups. Speaking of tweets, Eric Rogers, former Calgary Stampeder, sent out a tweet today, and I have to go back and find it, because I actually found this kind of funny. Just give me some time to find it. And there we go. All right, so this is really tongue in cheek, but Eric Rogers, interview 21 on Hamilton. He likes to hear himself talk. At the worst time of him, 2 hours ago is when the game ended, so probably not the best time to start pouring salt in the wound, but excellent troll tweet. And the Toronto Argonauts, they're not in this game, but they retweeted a tweet that they sent out to the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 2014. Now that's epic trolling. They retweeted the tweet saying back-to-back Grey Cup participants with a ribbon. So Toronto, man, I'm kind of anxious or interested to see how Toronto ends up, because every year that they go all in for free agents, they end up winning a Grey Cup, and then everything goes to the crapper the next season. They didn't win anything this year. It'll be hard-pressed to keep a lot of their players out this year. But enough about the Argonauts. It's the Grey Cup review show. For Tony, I'm Dalts. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yep, I've got a magnificent bastard.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about that.
And it's not, well, I didn't know if big magnificent bastard. And it's not what you think. My magnificent bastard goes to whoever selected the song that they were going to play when the Bombers hoisted the Grey Cups, where you can do the "We Are the Champions," which is usually the go-to one. But they chose "Love of a Lifetime" by 90s hair band Firehouse. I don't know who picked it, who found it, because Firehouse was like one of the last hair bands in the 90s, late 80s, before grunge killed hair bands. And whoever found that, whoever knew about, because I was an 80 hair band guy. I had the long hair. I was whatever you wanted to call them back then, a headbanger or something. I loved hair bands. And so I have that album with Love of a Lifetime on it. And I will drive in my car today screaming it at the top of my lungs as I sing along. So whoever picks the music for when they hoisted up the Grey Cup and played Love of a Lifetime by Firehouse, you magnificent bastard.
And what a way to end this program. It's episode 427, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. And I don't know if we're going to be back to record another show before the new year, but I am just going to lay down and celebrate, and I'm going to leave my insufferableness to social media. For Tony, I'm Dalts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week, or whenever.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.